Hello everybody, welcome to Snyder's Inc. And today we got a video from a channel called Savox. I have reacted to him before, just not in a while. I'm gonna react to him now. And this is 9 of the most evil athletes. And we gonna get right into this. This is gonna be a long one. It's 52 minutes long just in video, so with my talking it's gonna be over an hour, probably an hour and a half. We gonna get right into this though, ladies and gentlemen. Hit the like button, hit subscribe button, comment what you think down below. Let's go.
Some of us make a living through a regular 9-to-5 job. Some of us are self-employed, and some of us work in a more specialized field. There are people who make a living using their bodies. And no, I don't mean that way. I'm talking about athletes. People who are either born with great genetics or have worked hard to build their bodies to the point where they're able to compete in whatever sport they've chosen. And
I'm just gonna be honest, when he said some people make a living using their bodies, I immediately went to the other way. Not the way he intended, even though I should have because of the video. It's just how my brain works. Sorry.
Become rich and famous from it. Of course, these athletes are human and have the same flaws that the rest of us do, and this of course means they're capable of being objectively terrible people. Some could even be called evil. This video is already a long enough time coming, so let's just get right into it. Here are 9 of the most evil athletes.
Karl Malone, former WCW wrestler Karl Malone. Oh no, why is he on this video? What'd you do, Karl? Karl, what'd you do?
We're starting things off in the NBA. The players of the NBA definitely vary on how they portray themselves. Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley, for example, are of course both known for being goofy and cheerful guys who become living memes in recent years. You also have gentle giants like Dikembe Mutombo, who in the years since he retired has become well known for his humanitarian work in his native Republic of Congo, and also Yao Ming, who's now famous for his work in spreading awareness for wildlife preservation.
You don't have to play ball to be a great shot blocker. Never buy illegal wildlife products, and we can say...
What a bizarre commercial. What a bizarre ass commercial. I don't even know how to react to that. What the hell?
Save our endangered animals.
When the buying stops, the killing can too.
And also for being the face of the bitch please meme. Some players, on the other hand, do not have particularly good reputations. There's guys like Rasheed Wallace, who probably earned more technical fouls than points during his time playing for the Portland Trail Blazers. Ron Artest, of course, is known for starting the Malice at the Palace brawl and getting the longest suspension in NBA history for his troubles. And then there's guys like Bill Laimbeer, who just straight up attacked other players.
I've seen a mask like this. This looks like a mask like Cody Rhodes once wore in like 2011. No one's gonna get that reference who watches this in WWE, but I'm just saying I've seen someone wear this type of mask before.
There are some NBA players, however, who have committed acts outside of the league that really do go far beyond any problematic on-court actions, and it's players like these that we start the list off with. Karl Malone is definitely one of those names that will come to mind when someone is asked to name some of the greatest basketball players of the 80s and 90s. Born in 1964 in Summerfield, Louisiana, as the youngest of 9 siblings to a single mother, Karl first began to show how great he was at basketball when he played for the team at Summerfield High School and led them to 3 consecutive Louisiana Class C titles from 1979 to his senior season in 1981. He then enrolled at Louisiana Tech University, though he was not allowed to play basketball until his second year due to low grades in his freshman year. When he was finally allowed to play, he was a force on the court, leading the team with an average of 18.7 points and 9.3 rebounds per game, and in his first season, the team only lost 3 games out of 32. He would play 3 seasons with the team, and in 1985, at the age of 22, Karl would declare for the NBA draft. He believed he would be picked fairly early in the draft by the Dallas Mavericks, even going as far as to rent an apartment there, but would actually be the 13th pick in the draft by the Utah Jazz. Karl did fairly well in his first season in the league, averaging 14 points and 9 rebounds, and being named to the All-NBA rookie team after coming third in the Rookie of the Year voting. Despite this, the Utah Jazz were unable to make it very far in the playoffs, losing to the Dallas Mavericks in the first round. Karl took the loss to heart and stepped up his game afterwards, becoming the team's top scorer and leading the team's offense alongside the star point guard John Stockton.
I'm just gonna be honest, hold on, I want to go back to that photo. Look, I'm a very critiquable man. I just critique everyone, it's just what I do.
To 1988 season, the
I'm not going back.
team made it to the playoffs again, managing to beat the Portland Trailblazers and their all-star shooting guard Clyde Drexler, only to lose in the second round to the Los Angeles Lakers, who would go on to win the NBA championship that year. Despite Malone and Stockton probably being the best offensive duo in the entire NBA, losing in the playoffs would be a very long tradition for them. By the time the 1989-1990 season rolled around, Malone had become one of the highest scoring players in the NBA. The NBA championship continued to elude him. That said, he did compete in the 1992 Olympic Games as a member of the USA's Dream Team, who more or less annihilated all of their opponents and easily took the gold medal. Once again though, the Utah Jazz just couldn't win a championship, as they were eliminated 2 years in a row in 1994 and 1995 by Hakeem Olajuwon and the Houston Rockets, who would go on to win the NBA championship in both years. In 1997, things began to finally look up for the Utah Jazz, as they finally managed to beat the Houston Rockets and advance to the NBA Finals. Unfortunately for them, their opponents in the finals would be the Chicago Bulls, led by Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and coach Phil Jackson, who'd won 3 back-to-back championships between 1991 and 1993, and had just won another championship in the finals the previous year. Needless to say, Malone and Stockton failed to beat the Bulls. The next year, they would face the Chicago Bulls again, and though they did better this year, they once again came up short when John Stockton missed a game-winning shot, allowing Michael Jordan to make his own and securing the Bulls' 6th title in 8 years. After this, Malone and Stockton continued trying and failing to win an NBA championship all the way up until 2003, making it 19 seasons that the two of them had chased the title. Finally, in 2003,
oh my God, Karl Malone couldn't reach anything. The man couldn't win a... He was just put on the shittiest team. The man was put on a team where they just couldn't win for the life of them. Could not win at all. Oh God.
Malone went to the Los Angeles Lakers in hopes that playing alongside superstars Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant and all-star point guard Gary Payton would finally lead him to a championship, as the Lakers were just coming off 3 titles in a row under the coaching of Phil Jackson, the same coach who'd kept the Utah Jazz from winning a title. Unfortunately for Malone, things had become very dysfunctional in the team due to problems between Shaq and Kobe that would take way too long to explain, and Kobe's sexual assault allegations giving him and the team some very bad press. It didn't help that Malone was 40 years old and very much past his prime by this point, and really couldn't keep up with most of the younger players in the league.
I didn't know you could play in the NBA till you were 40. I thought there was like a... Am I wrong with this? Did I just have a... Did I make this up? Was there... Or did I... Well, there was like a... At a certain age, you couldn't play against? Am I just stupid when thinking that? Or was that an actual thing and I just... Or did I imagine it? Because I always thought there was an actual age limit on how you could play in the NBA.
Anymore. Despite this, the Lakers managed to make it to the finals, but they would be crushed by the Detroit Pistons, with Malone missing the final game due to an injury. It would seem Malone finally realized that his dream of becoming an NBA champion would never come true, and he retired after the finals. Despite never winning a championship, Karl Malone still had a very successful career, and is of course a Hall of Famer. But now that we've gotten Karl's career out of the way, it's finally time to talk about why he's on here. Karl Malone had a few incidents that definitely painted him in a negative light. He apparently once tried to seduce Kobe Bryant's wife, which led to Bryant and Malone almost coming to blows, and once made some controversial comments regarding Magic Johnson returning to the NBA in 1995, after having retired 4 years earlier when he revealed that he was HIV positive. The most infamous controversy surrounding him occurred before his professional career began, however. In 1998, it was reported that Malone had been involved in 2 paternity lawsuits that had been filed in the late 80s. One of the women was Benita Ford, who gave birth to Malone's twin son and daughter at age 17, at which point Malone abandoned the three of them, leaving Ford to raise her children alone. That on its own clearly makes Malone look like a pretty awful person, but it only gets much worse when you learn the backstory of the second woman to sue him. The woman's name...
Okay, because I'm about to say, this second one has to be worse. Because so far, well, yes, he is clearly an asshole for it. Like, him trying to seduce another man's wife makes him an asshole. Him saying whatever, I mean, I don't know what he said. So, you know, who the hell am I to say anything on his opinion on Magic Johnson or whatever. Him banning the three, the woman with two or three children. That's just a horrible thing. Anyone does that is a piece of shit. But I don't know if it makes him should be on the list of the most evil athletes. So this second story better be something.
Her name was Gloria Bell, who Malone had gotten pregnant during his sophomore year at college. At that time, he was 20 years old. Gloria Bell, on the other hand, was 13 years older than...
There it is! Now I know why he's on this list. Okay, there it is. He got a 13-year-old pregnant. Yep, there it is. Now he deserves to be on this list. Because now he's fucked up. That's fucked up in the head. Completely. Fuck this dude. Fuck Karl Malone.
At the time, Karl Malone had knowingly engaged in a sexual act with an underage girl. Unsurprisingly, he once again did not stick around afterwards, especially considering he would have been arrested. Malone refused to take a paternity test, which ended up working against him because that was basically all the evidence the judge needed to confirm that he really was the father of Gloria Bell's son.
About to say, if you weren't, you would take the paternity test easily. Because you would just to validate you're not the father, it's not your fault. You think, once you say I'm not taking it, they're like, okay, so you're clearly the father and you don't want it on your thing that you impregnated a 13-year-old. Yep, they're gonna have that. That will be there. That's all they need.
He also refused to take a DNA test for Benita Ford's children, which again led to the judge ruling that he was indeed the father. Eventually, Karl did accept paternity of his children and managed to mend his relationship with the twins, with his daughter Cheryl also becoming a professional basketball player in the WNBA, and unlike her father, actually won 3 championships. And I think we can...
Well, the children are always better than the parents, right? Like, let's be honest, it's always usually the case. So that doesn't surprise me at all.
We can all agree the fact that Karl tried to deny that he was her father is pretty ridiculous, when she looks almost exactly like him. Gloria Bell's son, Demetrius Bell, was not willing to have any kind of relationship with his father. The two met after Demetrius graduated high school, where he told Karl that he was, quote, too late. Demetrius would then go on to have his own sport career.
Right on for Demetrius, right on for this guy. Right on, the father, I'm in that situation, I've been there, I'm still there. Too late. You had years you could have been in the life. The father could have been in the life. But he's not. Too late. You don't just get to walk back in it. I get that one completely.
But unlike his father, he chose football and would spend 5 seasons playing in the NFL. Apparently, after Demetrius retired from the NFL, he began talking to Karl, and the two now speak regularly. Karl Malone is by far the most famous NBA player on this list, and while I think the rest of the players on the list are definitely worse than him, Karl Malone may be one of the greatest NBA players in history, but as a person, he's also one of the worst.
Sly Williams.
We go from an NBA Hall of Famer to a player who is almost completely forgotten. Sylvester Sly Williams was born in New Haven, Connecticut in 1958 to a single mother and was one of 16 children. Yes, 16. Growing up, Sly...
That's too many kids. That's too many kids. You need to stop having sex, woman. That woman needs to stop having sex. I'm just going to say right up. I'll say, I don't care. I'll say straight up. You need to stop after like 4 children. I mean, I'll see people think, but like 16 children, nah, this woman need to just stop having sex. I'm just gonna say it. She needs to stop having sex.
Sly spent most of his free time playing at the playground in his hometown of New Haven, which made him the star player of his high school basketball team. After graduating, he had 2 colleges trying to recruit him, with him ultimately choosing the University of Rhode Island. He would stay there until his junior year and would set the school's all-time season scoring record. Following this, he would declare for the 1979 NBA draft and would be drafted 21st overall by the New York Knicks. While he would prove to be a somewhat valuable player, he also developed a bad reputation for being unreliable, as he would often miss practice sessions and would even miss flights to games on occasion. It didn't help that the New York Knicks were far from the powerhouse team that they were at the start of the 1970s, where they would win 2 championships under the leadership of Willis Reed and Walt Frazier, even beating the formidable Los Angeles Lakers for their first championship. Ironically, Phil Jackson was part of the squad that beat the Lakers, the same team he would coach to 5 championships decades later. By the time Sly came to the Knicks, their stars had either all moved to different teams or retired. After 5 seasons in New York, Sly was traded to the Atlanta Hawks, where he hardly played any games due to a broken thumb, a broken foot, and a lower intestinal ailment. Sly was let go in 1985 after 2 seasons. Legendary coach turned executive Red Auerbach decided to sign Sly to the Boston Celtics. Around the same time, the team had signed Bill Walton, who, like Sly, had found great success on the team after the rest of the NBA had seemingly turned their backs on him due to his many injuries. So Red felt that Sly also had what it took to be a helpful bench player for the Celtics. Sly would once again end up being a disappointment. He would only play 54 minutes spread out over 6 games. In December of 1985, Sly was released from the Celtics, just a few months before the team would win a championship in the 1986 finals. Following this, Sly would spend 2 months playing in Spain before retiring from basketball altogether, apparently having realized that he just wasn't cut out for professional basketball. After retiring, Sly would work menial jobs just to make ends meet, and never contacted any of his old teammates, to the point where they wondered what had even happened to him. After several years of this, Sly would have his first run-in with the law in 1991, when he was arrested several times for domestic incidents with his then-girlfriend, one of which ended with her stabbing him in the neck in self-defense.
Woo! Woo!
This was
What happened? What happened in that one? What happened in that one incident? What was going on in that place that involved her in her self-defense? In like self-defense, having to stab him in the neck. I'm not saying she's not justified in doing it. I'm just curious what the fuck he was doing. Like, was he trying to, like, was he grabbing him by the throat or something like that? She just, out of instinct, just grabbed the knife and just stabbed him? Like, I mean, any man who abuses a woman, or vice versa, anyone who abuses their significant other, to me, is just a terrible person. You are a horrible person if you do that. You will never get justified in any scenario for abusing your partner, your significant other. I will never justify that.
after he'd previously been arrested for assault, criminal trespass, and unlawful restraint against his girlfriend. He attempted to flee the hospital, but was arrested for violating probation and was given a 5-year suspended sentence. Eventually, he collected severance pay from the NBA and moved to Charlotte, where 2 of his brothers had settled. He stayed there for 5 years, where he worked for a furniture company and as an auto mechanic. He left to work on a farm in Pennsylvania and to live with the woman with whom he had started a relationship and produced a son. The 2 eventually agreed to separate, with the woman remaining with her family in Pennsylvania and Sly moving to New York. In 1998, Sly moved to Binghamton, New York, near the Pennsylvania border, and he found work on the graveyard shift as a supervisor at American Pipe and Plastics Co. in neighboring Kirkwood. It was during his time in Binghamton that Sly would be arrested for a serious crime. In January 2002, Sly was arrested and charged with sodomy, burglary, criminal contempt, kidnapping, and 2 counts of rape. The first 4 charges were for offenses committed that month, whereas the first rape charge was for an offense committed in September 2001. He had apparently held the second woman hostage at knife point in her own home for 24 hours. He denied all charges but the kidnapping charge. Somehow this worked, and all of the other charges were dropped. However,
What do you mean this work? He just went over there and they're like, he's like, I didn't do it. And they're like, oh! Well, he said he didn't do it. What do you want us to do? Say he didn't do it. I guess he didn't do it. Okay. Drop all charges. He good. He didn't do it. He said so.
Sly was still convicted of kidnapping, and he would spend the next 5 years in prison. Sly has made it clear that he regrets what he did all those years ago, and perhaps he is a changed man now, but he's one of those athletes that there's really not much information on, so it's pretty much impossible to say how much he's managed to turn his life around. But no matter where he is or what he's doing now, he's no doubt still carrying the guilt of the heinous acts he committed, and for the 2 women he harmed, the pain and horror will linger for the rest of their lives.
Fast Eddie Johnson.
The last NBA player on this list for a while, but definitely the worst so far. Edward Lee Johnson Jr. was born in Ocala, Florida in 1955 as the oldest of 5 children. Even before he started playing basketball, he found himself being a noteworthy individual, as he was one of the first black students to attend a previously whites-only elementary school. He began playing basketball in Lake Weir High School, where he would play for 4 years and finish as one of the top students in his class. He would then go on to play college basketball at the University of Auburn for 4 years, from 1973 to 1977. He allegedly had conflicts with the Auburn Tigers coach, Bob Davis, who accused Johnson of, quote, having a bad attitude. Johnson's scoring average dipped each season with the Tigers and caused worry amongst professional scouts as to if he was a problematic player. Part of the reason for Johnson's bad attitude was his cocaine use, which allegedly got so bad that he once passed out in public. Because
Yeah, that's not a good. That's not a good look. You ain't gonna get a good look from them if you're just sitting there, being an asshole and bad attitude, and you just snorting cocaine. You ain't gonna be. The professional people are gonna be looking at you going, "Yeah, that's the guy I want on my team." Nah, I don't know how you got into the NBA.
Because of his issues, he would find himself being passed over 48 times in the 1977 draft, before finally being picked in the 3rd round by the Atlanta Hawks. Surprisingly, despite being such a low draft pick, Johnson would turn out to be an excellent bench player for the team, helping them reach the playoffs for the first time in 4 years. Because of this, Johnson became the starting shooting guard for the team in the 1978 to 1979 season, ultimately becoming the team's star player, and in 1980, he was selected for the All-Star team as a starter alongside megastars like Julius Erving and Larry Bird, and would be one of the All-Star team's highest scorers with 22 points. All in all, Eddie Johnson blew everyone in the league away, as it was completely unheard of for a 49th draft pick to become this much of a star. In the 1980 off-season, however, he fell back into his drug use, as he was spotted jumping out of a 2-story window being shot at by 2 well-known drug dealers.
Oh my god. Well, that's a way to get caught doing drugs. Not someone walks in and you doing drugs. No. Someone walks in being... Someone sees you jumping out of a 2-story window because you're being shot at by drug dealers. Yeah, that's a way to get caught doing drugs again.
Indicating a deal gone wrong. He was also arrested 3 weeks later for possession of cocaine, but the charges were later dropped after it was determined that the police's search had been illegal. He was checked into rehab, but only spent a week there before discharging himself, and was arrested less than 24 hours later for stealing a car from a dealership.
Okay, this is just a statement I'm gonna make. A rehab, if someone goes into rehab, they should not be able to... If someone goes into rehab because of a charge from police or anything like that, they should not be able to discharge himself. I don't know if he went in on his own accord and that's why he could. But yeah, I don't know if people in rehab should be able to just easily discharge themselves.
Despite his life spiraling out of control, Johnson continued to be a great asset to the Atlanta Hawks, scoring 20 points per game. Over time though, his drug use did cause his performance to decline significantly, with him only scoring 10 points per game in the 1986 season. This, coupled with the fact that Dominique Wilkins had firmly established himself as a team star player by that point, meant there was really nothing the Atlanta Hawks had planned for him. After the team had finally had enough of Johnson's antics caused by his drug use, they traded him to the Cleveland Cavaliers in 1986, but he would spend less than 1 season there before leaving the NBA entirely and going to the much smaller Continental Basketball Association to play for the Tampa Bay Thrillers. He would spend one season with them before receiving a call-up to the Seattle Supersonics. The NBA ordered him to attend rehab before he would be allowed back onto the court. He stuck to it at first, but eventually stopped attending his therapy sessions and left. Following this, Eddie Johnson would receive a lifetime ban from the NBA, ending his career. His life would completely...
Wow. So they ordered him to go to rehab. They go to a drug thing before he could come play. And he said okay, and he went. Then he stopped going. Probably because he thought no one would actually go check now. Like, oh, he's going regularly, he's probably fine, and no one thought he probably thought they wouldn't check. They did. And it turns out, and then when they realized he stopped going, they just straight banned him from the NBA. He's like, listen, you're not going to cooperate, you're not playing anymore. Your career's done, boy.
Spiral out of control. Between 1987 and 2006, he was arrested around 100 times and sent to prison on...
Wait, what? Hold on.
2006, he was arrested around 100 times and sent...
In 2006, he was arrested by... How do you get arrested 100 times? And not... How do you arrest 100 times and not end up in jail? What?
...to prison on 5 separate occasions for crimes that range from...
Okay, I misheard. There's a missing date here.
Between 1987 and 2006.
Okay, from 1987 to... Okay, that's a bit more likely, but like, still, that's still a lot of arrests.
He was arrested around 100 times and sent to prison on 5 separate occasions for crimes that range from burglary, robbery, assault on a police officer, and shoplifting, all the while continuing to suffer from his drug addictions. Some of you watching may feel somewhat sorry for him, as it really did seem like his addictions were ruling his life, and he simply had no escape from it. You'll probably stop feeling any sympathy for him when you hear about his final crime though. In 2006, Johnson was in prison awaiting trial after having been accused of raping a woman. This on its own is horrible enough, but there was one more horrific crime he would be found guilty of. In that same year, Johnson had entered an unlocked apartment and found an 8-year-old girl sitting on her own, while her babysitter had stepped out. Realizing she was in danger, the girl ran into her bedroom, locked the door, and barricaded it with the dresser. Unfortunately, this was not enough to stop him. He broke through the door, and you could probably guess what he did next. Johnson stood trial for the crime.
This guy can go to hell. This guy can go to hell. That is one, for starters. I'm not blaming the babysitter, but why would you go leave your 8-year-old child alone, especially in an unlocked apartment door? But this man is fucked up more because he just looked for apartment doors to unlock, clearly, to enter and do something to, and then for him to go after an 8-year-old child, this guy could go straight to hell.
Crime in 2008, with the girl testifying against him. Johnson was convicted of sexual battery of a minor, lewd and lascivious molestation of a minor, and trespassing, and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He would remain in prison until his death in 2020 from an undisclosed illness. As I
No sympathy from me.
said before, some people may have felt sorry for Johnson, as he really did seem to have a very bright career ahead of him, and he could have become one of the all-time greats of the NBA. But he threw it all away because he couldn't let go of his drug habit, and past the point of no return when he attacked that poor young girl and scarred her for life. He'll never be remembered as Fast Eddie Johnson, the NBA star. Instead, he'll be remembered as the junkie who committed a truly horrifying and unforgivable act on an innocent child.
Mark Rogowski.
Moving away from the NBA to another one of America's favorite sports, skateboarding. Mark Anthony Rogowski was born in 1966 in Brooklyn, New York. He moved to California at 3 years old with his mother and brother after his parents divorced. Mark apparently had no friends growing up and was described as a, quote, social outcast. In contrast, his brother was far more outgoing and had a much easier time making friends. Wanting to get into sports like his brother, Mark began skateboarding when he was 7 years old. Despite the risks of injury that came with vert skateboarding, Mark seemed to have no fear of getting hurt, and when he did end up with a broken bone, he'd just skate in a cast. It was through skating that he'd finally meet friends who shared the same interests he did, and they would give him the nickname Gator. After a trick he invented, he would win various skateboarding competitions in his teens, eventually winning the Canadian skating competition and going pro shortly afterwards. This would lead to him making upwards of $100,000 a month, thanks to his
I'm gonna be honest, I'm so out of the loop with sports. I didn't know skateboarding was an actual sport that you could do professionally. That is actually very cool.
sponsorship deals and sales of his signature Gator skateboard deck. In fact, Mark's popularity grew to the point where the only skater more famous than him around this time was, of course, Tony Hawk, and the two would become neighbors after Mark had a house built near Tony's ranch. However, as the skateboarding culture evolved in the late 80s and early 90s, vert skating's popularity waned, and street skating took center stage. Mark found it challenging to adapt to this new era, and his once thriving career began to fade. Sponsorships dwindled, and his fame diminished, leaving him feeling increasingly disconnected and disillusioned. During this time, Mark's personal life also took a turn for the worse. He had a troubled relationship with model Brandy McLean, whom he had met at the height of his success. Their romance was marked by emotional turbulence, and eventually they parted ways. Struggling to cope with his career decline and heartbreak, Mark turned to alcohol and drugs, which only intensified his erratic and violent behavior. He became involved with a new crowd and dabbled in criminal activities. Mark desperately sought a sense of control that had eluded him since his fall from grace. On March 20th, 1991, Jessica Bergston, a friend of Brandy McLean, reached out to Mark for help getting settled in San Diego. Unbeknownst to her, she was about to become the target of Mark's pent-up rage and frustration. On the night of March 21st, Mark invited Jessica to his apartment, where he brutally attacked and raped her. He then strangled her to death and disposed of her body in the California desert inside of a surfboard bag.
What the fuck? This man just had frustration about his career ending, and his girlfriend leaving him to the point that instead of just getting some fucking help, he just brought a girl over, just completely, and just ruthlessly attacked and killed her for no goddamn reason. You can go to hell.
Killing part of this crime was Mark's own admission that he saw Jessica as a surrogate for his ex-girlfriend, whom he couldn't bring himself to kill. The murder was a culmination of his inability to cope with his failures in his personal and professional life. Overwhelmed with guilt, Mark confessed his actions to a Christian minister. Recognizing how serious the situation was, the minister contacted the police. Mark was arrested on April 11, 1991. During his trial, Mark's defense team argued that he had been suffering from severe mental health issues at the time of the murder, including depression, anxiety, and substance abuse. However, prosecutors argued that Rogowski had planned the murder and was fully aware of his actions. In the end, Mark Rogowski pleaded guilty to the murder and was sentenced to 31 years to life in prison. He has since expressed remorse for his actions and has undergone extensive therapy and counseling. Mark Rogowski was one of the skaters who helped bring skateboarding to the mainstream in the 80s, and had things turned out differently, he may very well have been held in as high esteem as Tony Hawk today and regarded as a legend. Instead, he's only known now as a cold-blooded killer.
This name sounds familiar.
Aaron Hernandez was born in November 1989 in Bristol, Connecticut. He was a standout high school athlete, playing football, basketball, and running track. Hernandez was recruited to play football at the University of Florida, where he became a star player. He'd had a troubled upbringing, marked by violence and abuse. His father, a former high school football star himself, was a harsh disciplinarian who had beat Hernandez and his siblings. His father died when he was 16. And some say that this event marked a turning point in his life. Without his father's guidance, he began to spiral out of control, getting into fights and using drugs. In 2009, Hernandez was drafted by the New England Patriots where he quickly became one of the team's most talented players. Though obviously not nearly as popular as their star quarterback, Tom Brady, he helped lead the Patriots to the Super Bowl in 2011 and was widely regarded as one of the best tight ends in the NFL. He was known for his aggressive play on the field, and some believe that his aggression spilled over into his personal life. He was also known for associating with gang members, which may have contributed to his violent behavior. Even before he was drafted by the Patriots, Hernandez had an extensive criminal past. In 2007, while a freshman at university, Hernandez was involved in an altercation with a restaurant employee. He was arrested and charged with assault, but the charges were eventually dropped. On September 30th, 2007, Hernandez was involved in an incident outside of a Gainesville, Florida nightclub. According to witnesses, an argument broke out between a group of people, including Hernandez and two men, Randall Carson and Corey Smith, who were leaving the nightclub. After the argument, a silver Toyota 4Runner drove up to Carson and Smith as they were walking away, and someone inside the vehicle opened fire, hitting both men. Carson suffered multiple gunshot wounds to his back, while Smith was shot in the head and died instantly. Police began investigating the shooting and received a tip that Hernandez was present during the incident. He was questioned by the police, but not arrested at the time. He apparently only got worse during his time in the NFL. On July 16, 2012, Daniel Diabru and Safiro Furtado were shot and killed while sitting in their car at the Spotlight in Boston's South End. The shooting occurred around 2 a.m., and witnesses reported seeing a silver SUV pull up to the victim's car before shots were fired. The case remained unsolved for several months, until an anonymous tip led police to Hernandez. Surveillance footage from the night of the shooting showed Hernandez in the same nightclub as the victims. Investigators also found a silver SUV that matched the description of the one seen leaving the scene of the crime. The SUV was registered to a car rental company and had been rented by Hernandez. On February 13, 2013, Alexander Bradley, a friend and former associate of Hernandez, was found on the side of a highway in Riviera Beach, Florida, with a gunshot wound to the face. Bradley survived the shooting, but was left permanently blind in one eye. After an investigation, it was determined that the shooting occurred following an altercation between Hernandez and Bradley at a Miami.
Wow, so this guy is just a guy mixed in with gang and trying to act like a fucking top tier gangster, trying to freaking just take out anyone who either just sees or people who've done him wrong by like the slightest bit, it would probably guess.
Strip club. Hernandez believed that Bradley had disrespected him and became angry, leading to the shooting. In June 2013, Hernandez was arrested and charged with attempted murder, but the charges were later dropped after Bradley refused to testify against Hernandez. Bradley was later convicted of unrelated drug charges and sentenced to 5 years in prison. Despite the charges being dropped, the shooting was another indication of Hernandez's involvement in criminal activity and his violent tendencies. Hernandez managed to escape prison on this occasion, but this would not be his final run-in with the law. The next incident would involve 27-year-old Odin Lloyd. Odin Lloyd was a semi-professional footballer who had played for the Boston Bandits. He was dating the sister of Hernandez's fiancée and was also friends with Hernandez. On the night of June 16, 2013, Hernandez picked up Lloyd at his home in Boston and drove him to an industrial park in North Attleboro, less than a mile from Hernandez's home. The next morning, a jogger discovered Lloyd's body in the industrial park. He had been shot multiple times with a .40 caliber handgun. Police began investigating the murder and quickly turned their attention to Hernandez due to his history of associating with gang members and violent behavior. Investigators found surveillance footage from the night of the murder that showed Hernandez with two other men, Carlos Ortiz and Ernest Wallace, picking Lloyd up at his home and driving him to the industrial park. The footage also showed Hernandez carrying what appeared to be a gun into his home later that night. Police searched Hernandez's home and found a .45 caliber handgun, as well as other evidence linking him to the murder. They also discovered that the rental car used to transport Lloyd's body was registered in Hernandez's name. Hernandez was arrested and charged with the murder of Odin Lloyd on June 26, 2013, and he was found guilty of first-degree murder on April 15, 2015. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. During the trial, it was revealed that Hernandez was angry with Lloyd for associating with people he didn't like. Prosecutors argued that Hernandez had planned and carried out the murder with the help of Ortiz and Wallace. Both men were also charged in connection with the murder and pleaded guilty to lesser charges in exchange for their
So I was right. It's literally the most pettiest things this man is shooting people over. He shot one guy over the fact they just thought he was disrespecting him. And he shot this guy, the guy they shot and killed here, they shot and killed him because he was hanging out with people that Hernandez didn't approve of. Like, get a grip, would you? No wonder you're gonna rot in prison, Hernandez.
cooperation. During his trial and imprisonment, Hernandez would also face charges for his previous crimes. In May 2014, Hernandez was indicted on 2 counts of first-degree murder for his involvement in the shooting of Daniel de Abreu and Safiro Furtado. The prosecution stated that Hernandez was angry with them after they accidentally spilled a drink on him at the nightclub earlier that night. During the trial, several witnesses testified that Hernandez had confessed to the shooting. The prosecution also presented evidence linking Hernandez to the gun used in the shooting. However, in April 14, 2017, he was acquitted of the charges of first-degree murder, but he was found guilty of 1 charge of unlawful possession of a firearm and was sentenced to an additional 4 to 5 years in prison on top of his existing life sentence. On the morning of April 19, 2017, Hernandez was found dead in his prison cell. In the months leading up to his death, he had shown increasingly erratic behavior. He had been involved in a number of violent incidents while in prison, including an assault on another inmate and an incident in which he was found with a homemade knife. Following his death, his brain was examined by researchers who found evidence of severe trauma caused by repeated head injuries. This raised questions about the impact of head injuries on athletes, as well as the role that football may have played in Hernandez's violent behavior and eventual downfall. Regardless of this,
No, I refuse that. I hate when people do that. Listen, I bet hand injuries happen. 100%. 100%, I believe without a shadow of a doubt that it happened. That injuries happened to him. But I hate the thought of that being an excuse to explain his behavior. He made the choice. He made the choice to shoot people. That is his choice. You cannot justify what he did. I won't let people do it. Man's a killer. That's all he is. He's just a killer.
Aaron Hernandez's long history of violence and likely involvement in several murders on top of the murder of Odin Lloyd is definitely one of the most shocking stories in recent sports history, and shows that Hernandez definitely belongs on a list like this.
Oh, hell yeah. Ray Carruth.
Ray Carruth was born in January 1970.
Call him Ray Carruth. Ray Carruth.
1974 in Sacramento, California. He grew up in a troubled home and was raised by his mother, Theodore Carruth, who struggled with addiction and was in and out of prison during his childhood. His father wasn't involved in his life. Despite the challenges he faced, Carruth was a talented athlete from an early age, and he excelled in both football and track in high school. After graduating from Valley High School in Sacramento in 1992, he accepted a scholarship to play football at the University of Colorado. He played for the Colorado Buffaloes from 1992 to 1996, where he set several records and was named an All-American. However, his time at Colorado was also marked by controversy. In 1994, he was arrested on charges of sexual assault, but the case was eventually dismissed. He was also accused of accepting bribes from agents during his time at the university. Despite these issues, his talent on the football field was enough to earn him a spot in the NFL. He was selected by the Carolina Panthers in the first round of the 1997 NFL Draft, and he quickly became a key player for the team. In his rookie season, he caught 44 passes for 445 yards and 4 touchdowns. Expectations were high for Carruth going into the 1998 season. However, he broke his right foot in the opening game and did not catch another pass for that season due to the injury. Carruth would play in the first games of the 1999 season. At the time, he was in a relationship with Sharika Adams, a real estate agent from Charlotte, North Carolina. Adams became pregnant with Carruth's child, and Carruth initially appeared excited about the prospect of becoming a father. However, as the pregnancy progressed, their relationship began to deteriorate. He began pressuring Sharika to have an abortion, but she refused. Carruth also reportedly began to resent Adams for the amounts of money he would have to pay her in child support if the baby was born. On the night of November 16, 1999, Sharika Adams was driving her car in Charlotte when she was ambushed by a group of men. She was shot 4 times and drove herself to a nearby intersection where she was found by the police.
911.
I've been shot.
You've been shot. Where are you at, Megan?
I'm 8 months pregnant.
How'd this happen?
I was following my baby's daddy, Ray Carruth, the football player.
Where's he
He was
at?
in the car in front of me, and he slowed down, and somebody pulled up beside me and did this.
And then where'd he go?
He just left. I think he did it. I don't know what to think of.
Okay.
She was rushed to the hospital, where doctors performed an emergency C-section to deliver the baby. She remained in critical condition for several weeks before she died on December 14, 1999, from complications related to her injuries. The baby, Chancellor Lee Adams, was born with cerebral palsy as a result of the traumatic birth. It was later revealed that Carruth had hired a hitman, Van Brett Watkins.
This some bitch. This woman wanted to have this child. This asshole didn't want her to, wanted an abortion. Woman decided she didn't want an abortion. At the end of the day, if the woman wants to have the child, the woman should be allowed to have the child. But the man decided, no, you're not gonna have the child. Instead, I'm gonna hire a bunch of fucking hitmen to shoot you. What an absolute prick. Fuck this guy.
To carry out the shooting. Watkins and 2 other men, Michael Kennedy and Stanley Abraham, were arrested and charged with first-degree murder, while Carruth fled the state and was eventually caught in Tennessee after a nationwide manhunt. During the trial, Watkins testified that Carruth had paid him $5,000 to carry out the shooting. Carruth's defense argued that he had not intended for Adams to be killed, but instead wanted her to be scared enough to leave town and not have the baby. However, prosecutors presented evidence that Carruth had rented a hotel room near the shooting and had been in contact with Watkins in the days leading up to the incident. In January 2001, Carruth was found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder and 3 other charges related to the incident. He was acquitted of first-degree murder, but was found guilty of second-degree murder, which carries a minimum sentence of 20 years in prison. He served 17 years before being released in October 2018. Since his release, Carruth has largely remained out of the public eye, although he has made some attempts to reintegrate into society. He has tried to pursue a career in music, and has spoken publicly about his desire to turn his life around. However, his past actions continue to overshadow his...
Yeah, you ain't gonna get a second chance, bro. You don't get a second chance for what you did. Not a second. Anyone who gives you a second chance are stupid to do so. You don't deserve one.
attempts to move on, and his name remains synonymous with one of the most shocking and tragic incidents in the history of the NFL. He expressed remorse for his actions and stated that he wants to be a positive influence in his son's life. However, he has had no contact with his son since his release, and he has faced criticism for not taking responsibility for his role in Sharika Adams' murder. Honestly, it's hard to imagine.
Of course he doesn't. Of course he doesn't take responsibility. His evil little ass probably doesn't think he still actually believes that his head had nothing to do with it. They chose the hitman chose to kill him. It's not his fault, right? That's his thought process. You fucking hired the hitman. Your ass deserves the hell. You should still be in prison. No wonder your son don't have something to do. Your son probably doesn't want nothing to do with you, and nor should he have anything to do with you. Fuck you.
Imagine how he could possibly be a positive influence in his son's life when he's responsible for the death of Chancellor's mother, and is also the reason why he has cerebral palsy, due to his despicable act of having Sharika Adams killed and robbing their son of his mother. Ray Caruth's days as an NFL star are completely forgotten, and he's now known as a scumbag who, instead of facing up to his responsibilities, chose to have an innocent woman, the mother of his child, brutally murdered. Returning to the NBA for the final time now, as we have what is probably the most shocking case ever to involve an NBA player. Javaris Crittenton was born in December 1987 in Atlanta, Georgia. He grew up in the inner city and was raised by his mother, Sonia Dixon, who worked hard to provide for her family. Crittenton attended Southwest Atlanta Christian Academy, where he quickly established himself as one of the top basketball players in the state. In 2006, he was named Georgia's Mr. Basketball and was recruited to play college basketball at Georgia Tech. During his freshman year at Georgia Tech, he emerged as one of the top point guards in the country. He averaged 14.4 points, 5.8 assists, and 4.7 rebounds per game, and was named to the All-ACC freshman team. After his freshman year, Crittenton declared for the NBA draft and was selected by the Los Angeles Lakers with the 19th overall pick. It's rumored that during his time in LA, Crittenton joined the Crips, one of America's most notorious street gangs, though this has never been fully confirmed. Crittenton spent one season with the Lakers before being traded to the Memphis Grizzlies for Pau Gasol, alongside the biggest bust in NBA history, Kwame Brown. He struggled to find playing time in Memphis and was eventually traded to the Washington Wizards in 2008. On December 21, 2009, the Washington Wizards were preparing to board a flight to Phoenix for a game against the Suns when a dispute broke out between Crittenton and Gilbert Arenas. The altercation reportedly began over a card game the two had been playing on the team plane. Crittenton allegedly owed Arenas a debt from the game, and Arenas had brought several guns to the locker room to confront Crittenton. According to witnesses, the confrontation became heated, with both players drawing their guns and pointing them at each other. Several teammates intervened, and the guns were eventually confiscated by team officials. The incident was reported to the league, and both Crittenton and Arenas were suspended for the remainder of the season. Crittenton was also charged with a misdemeanor gun charge, and he was sentenced to 1 year of unsupervised probation. The incident was a huge embarrassment for the Wizards organization and the NBA as a whole. Crittenton was released from the Wizards following the incident. After this, his career began to spiral out of control. He struggled to find work in the NBA and spent time playing in the D-League and overseas. In 2011, he was arrested in Georgia on charges of gun possession and drug trafficking. It was that same year, however, that he would cross the line from being a petty thug to a dangerous criminal. On August 19th, Julian Jones, a 22-year-old mother of 4, was walking with 2 other people in a parking lot in southwest Atlanta when a black SUV pulled up and opened fire on the group. Jones was struck by multiple bullets and died from her injuries a short time later. The shooting was initially believed to be gang-related, but investigators eventually identified Crittenton as a suspect. He was allegedly seeking revenge against a man who he believed had robbed him in April of that year. Jones was not the intended target of the shooting, but was caught in the crossfire. He was arrested in California and charged with murder. He maintained his innocence and pleaded not guilty to the charges. During the trial, prosecutors presented evidence that he had purchased a high-powered rifle and had it shipped to Georgia just weeks before the shooting. They also presented testimony from witnesses who claimed to have seen Crittenton at the scene of the crime. In April 2015, he was found guilty of voluntary manslaughter and was sentenced to 25 years in prison. He would serve only 8 years before being released on April 21st, 2023. As in, while I was writing this script. So I can't even say he's where he belongs because they decided to let him go before I had the chance to. It goes without saying that he should still be in prison. He clearly went out that night intending to kill a man who robbed him, and instead killed an innocent woman and left 4 children without a mother. His NBA career went nowhere, and now he's just an ex-con who'll probably never be able to get a job anywhere because nobody will want to hire a man who killed a mother in a drive-by shooting. In my opinion, Javaris Crittenton is definitely the most despicable man to have ever played in the NBA. Oscar Pistorius was born in November 1986 in Johannesburg, South Africa, to parents Henky and Sheila Pistorius. From a young age, he faced significant challenges as he was born with a congenital condition called fibular hemimelia, which means he was born without fibulas. As a result, both of his legs were amputated below the knee when he was just 11 months old. Despite his disability, he was determined to live a full and active life. He grew up in a supportive and loving family environment, and his parents encouraged him to pursue his passions. He was fitted with prosthetic legs and quickly learned to adapt and thrive. As a child, he participated in various sports, including water polo and tennis. However, it was in running that he found his true passion. He began competing in track and field events at a young age, initially focusing on sprint before transitioning to long distances. Oscar faced numerous challenges and setbacks throughout his early athletic career. He encountered skeptics and obstacles due to his disability, but he never let that deter him. Instead, he used his determination and dedication to become an elite athlete. He achieved success in para-athletics, winning gold medals at the Paralympics. In 2004, he won gold in the 200 meters and set a new world record in the 100 meters at the Paralympics in Athens.
I know this guy's gonna be going bad, but I would like to say I do give mad respect to like Paralympics or like Special Olympic athletes, because they're doing something, they're achieving something that's way harder to do for anybody else. Like normal people like us don't even know the challenges of what they have to go through to be able to achieve what they achieve. So they deserve absolute double the props and respect that a normal Olympic athlete does.
4 years later, at the 2008 Paralympics in Beijing, he defended his 100 and 200 meter titles and also won gold in the 400 meters. Beyond his Paralympic success, he aimed to compete against able-bodied athletes at the highest level. He pursued this dream by challenging the International Association of Athletics Federation's rule that prohibited the use of any, quote, technical device that incorporates springs, wheels, or any other elements that provides a user with an advantage over any other athlete not using such a device. He argued that his prosthetic legs did not give him an unfair advantage. In 2008, his case was heard by the Court of Arbitration for Sport, which ruled in his favor and overturned the IAAF ban. This decision cleared the way for him to compete against able-bodied athletes.
Wait a minute, so the rule was... So they were gonna ban him because they thought his prosthetic legs gave him an unfair advantage. And that he shouldn't be able to compete, and then he said, well, no, this is how I run with my prosthetic legs, and they took it to a court, and they were like, they ruled in his favor. So far, it makes sense, and it's good for him. Where does it turn?
And he became the first double amputee to compete in the Olympic Games. His inclusion in the 2012 London Olympics garnered significant attention and praise. He competed in the 400 meters and the 4x400 meter relay, reaching the semi-finals in the individual event. His presence at the Games inspired many around the world and changed perceptions about disability and sport. It was during his standout year in 2012 that he would meet his girlfriend, Reeva Steenkamp, a South African model and law graduate. The couple's relationship quickly garnered media attention, as Oscar was a prominent figure in sports, and Steenkamp was becoming increasingly recognized for her modeling work. They were both seen attending various public events and were frequently photographed together, fueling speculation about their romance. Despite their different backgrounds, Oscar and Steenkamp appeared to share a connection. They both had charismatic and outgoing personalities, and their relationship seemed to flourish in the spotlight. In interviews and public statements, they expressed their affection for each other and appeared to be in a loving and committed relationship. They often shared their experiences and moments together on social media, giving their fans a glimpse into their lives as a couple. However, their relationship was not without its challenges, and their relationship was prone to conflicts and disagreements. Some reports suggested that the couple experienced occasional arguments. These conflicts were often described as typical relationship challenges and were not signs of a troubled or abusive relationship. During all of this, Reeva Steenkamp...
I was about to say, like, usually, every relationship has arguments. Even public ones. If you go your entire relationship without an argument, there's something else going on there. I'm just saying, because it's just not normal for your relationship to go without any sort of arguments. So very, yeah, wouldn't look too much into just a argument happening in a relationship means something bad's going on.
Camp remained active on Twitter and would often tweet about Oscar, always talking about him in a positive manner. It's a beautiful day, make things happen, starting my day off with a yummy healthy shake from my boo. What do you have up your sleeve for love tomorrow? Hashtag get excited, hashtag Valentine's Day. This tweet shows that she was happy and excited to spend Valentine's Day with Oscar. Little did anyone know at the time that this would be the last time anyone ever heard from her. On the night of February 13th, 2013, Oscar and Reva had a pleasant evening together and had gone to bed around 10 p.m. Oscar claimed that he woke up in the early hours of the morning, around 3 a.m., and heard what he believed to be an intruder in the bathroom. Fearful for their safety, he said that he grabbed his 9mm pistol, which he kept under his bed, and proceeded to the bathroom. At this point, he claimed that he shouted at the presumed intruder to leave, and fired several shots through the locked bathroom door. When he realized that Steenkamp was not in bed, he allegedly became frantic and...
Wait a minute, you didn't check to see if your girl... No, okay, there's no way this is real. This is not his... That cannot be the actual conclusion of what happened in this case. This man had to have go to... This has to be a premeditated thing. Because the first thing you're gonna do if you hear someone in the bathroom of your apartment is to look and check to make sure that your significant other is in the bed first before you assume into the truth. If your first thing is in an apartment with two people is the first thing you hear noise and you don't even look, you're just gonna assume it's an intruder and shoot them? You have a problem. There's no way that's the case. This is a premeditated thing. Has to be.
Realized that he had just shot her. He broke down the bathroom door and discovered her lifeless body. Emergency services were called, but it was too late, and she was pronounced dead at the scene. As the investigation unfolded, the prosecution presented an alternative narrative, suggesting that the shooting was not an accident, but rather a deliberate act. They argued that Oscar and Steenkamp had an argument before the shooting, pointing to phone records and text messages as evidence of tension in their relationship. Witnesses came forward during the trial, testifying that they had heard heated arguments and loud voices coming from Oscar's home the night of the shooting. These testimonies supported the prosecution's contention that the shooting was in fact premeditated. Oscar pleaded not guilty to the charges of murder, claiming that he had mistaken Steenkamp for an intruder and acted out of fear and self-defense. Oscar testified in his own defense, describing his version of the events that night. He maintained that he believed there was an intruder in the bathroom and that he did not intend to harm Steenkamp. On September 12, 2014, Oscar was found not guilty of murder, but guilty of culpable homicide, which is equivalent to manslaughter. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison and a 3...
That's bullshit. That is absolute bullshit. There was no way. I need to know if you all believe it. Can you believe? There was no way this story's real. There's no way that's actually what happened. This has to be premeditated, right? Like, you have to all agree with me here. The thought in your high head that someone would just hear noises, immediately go to intruder, not check to see if their girlfriend or significant other is there, get out of bed, grab a gun, just start firing into the bathroom where you hear the intruder, not once thinking it could be that significant other, is ridiculous to me.
A year suspended sentence for a separate firearms charge. He served 1 year in prison before being released on parole in October 2015. However, the Supreme Court of Appeal in South Africa overturned the initial verdict and found Oscar guilty of murder. The court determined that Oscar should have foreseen the possibility of someone being behind the bathroom door when he fired the shots.
Yep. There you go. Okay, see, South Africa has some smartness in them. There you go. Let's give it up for South Africa. The only place so far that we've seen that has some sense in their goddamn justice system. Where they're like, they should have seen the possibility that wasn't, that like she was behind the bathroom door. He should have seen that as a possibility. He's going for murder. Brilliant. Good job, South Africa.
Thus establishing the required intent for murder. He was then resentenced to 6 years in prison in July 2016. The state appealed the sentence once again, arguing that it was too lenient. In November 2017, the Supreme Court of Appeal handed down a harsher sentence, Oscar's sentence was increased to 13 years and 5 months. Oscar Pistorius' case is quite a tragic one. He went from being an athlete who overcame his disability and became an inspiration to countless people who believed their own disabilities held them back, to a disgraced murderer who killed his girlfriend. He won't be in prison for life, but when he gets out, life will be very different for him, as no one will ever forget what he did.
Philip Adams, okay.
This will be by far the shortest entry on here, but also probably the most shocking. Philip Matthew Adams was born in July 1988 and attended Rock Hill High School. He was a standout athlete, playing football, basketball, and track. He was named the South Carolina Class 4A Offensive Player of the Year in 2006. He committed to play college football at South Carolina State University, where he was a 4-year starter at cornerback. He was named to the All-Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference first team in 2009 and 2010, and was drafted by the San Francisco 49ers in the 7th round of the 2010 NFL Draft. He made his NFL debut in Week 1 of the 2010 season and played in 15 games as a rookie. He started 10 games for the 49ers in 2011 and had a career-high 50 tackles. However, he was waived by the 49ers in August 2012 and was signed by the New England Patriots. Yes, the same team that Aaron Hernandez was playing for at the time. He played in 13 games for the Patriots in 2012 and had a career high of 2 interceptions. He was released by the Patriots in August 2013 and was signed by the Oakland Raiders. He played in 16 games for the Raiders in 2013 and had a career high of 64 tackles. He was released by the Raiders in August 2014 and was then signed by the Seattle Seahawks. He played 10 games for them and had a career high of 10 passes defended. He was released again by the Seahawks in August 2015 and signed by the New York Jets later that year.
This man's going from team to team to team. Jesus Christ, no one wants his ass.
He played 13 games for them and had 46 tackles. He was once again released in August 2016 and signed by the Atlanta Falcons. He played 1 game for them before being released in October, before retiring soon after. He would live in quiet seclusion, withdrawn from public life for the next 5 years, until 2021, when Philip committed a horrifying act that absolutely no one would have seen coming. On April 7, 2021, at around 4:45 p.m, Philip made his way to the home of his next-door neighbors, Dr. Robert Leslie and his wife Barbara. There were 2 HVAC workers outside doing work on the property. Out of nowhere, Philip produced a .45 caliber handgun and opened fire, killing them. He then entered the home and shot and killed Dr. Leslie, Barbara, and their 2 grandchildren, Ada and Noah. After the shooting,
Why? Why would he go? What happened here that made him just go kill 6 people? 6 people, including 2 children, for no fucking reason. What could possibly have justified him to fucking do so? Oh my god. That's just fucked my brain completely up.
he fled the scene and barricaded himself inside his home. A SWAT team was called in, and Philip was eventually found dead inside his home, and you can probably guess what the cause of death was. His motive for the shooting is unknown. He had a history of mental health problems, and he had been prescribed medication for anxiety and depression. He had also been arrested for assault in 2015. An autopsy revealed that he had advanced CTE, and his family had filed a lawsuit against the NFL, alleging that the league knew about the dangers of CTE and failed to protect its players.
No, that's gonna get dropped. There's no way they win that case. There was no way they won that case. No way.
There's very little information surrounding the case as a whole, and it seemed like the only major acknowledgement it got was when President Joe Biden briefly mentioned it during a speech about gun reform. My videos aren't really rankings, but I felt this case simply had to be at the end of the video, as unless there's something else out there that's somehow even worse, I feel this has got to be the worst act ever committed by an athlete.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this reaction video. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all for the next one.